I remember I was watching you answer some Ferguson questions and some New York questions, and I just remembered back to the day when Reverend Wright gave a press conference at the Press Center, and you came and gave a very, I thought you seemed angry, certainly upset news conference, and were very forceful in pushing back on some things. And a question that I think arises to me is, people say, well, he's in a very special position, and so much is expected of him. And I thought, you know, do you think that you look at race matters somewhat differently? Because, yes, you're the first African-American president, but your mother was white. You were raised by your mother and your white grandparents.
Yeah.
Does that give you a different perspective, do you think?
I think it probably does. I wrote a whole book about this, and there's no doubt that, you know, I've moved back and forth between the racial divides, not just black-white, but Asian and Latino, and you know, I've got a lot of cultural influences. I think what it does do for me is to recognize that most Americans have good intentions. I said a little bit about this in a press conference earlier today. I assume the best rather than the worst in others. But it also makes me mindful of the fact that there's misunderstanding, there's mistrust, and there are biases, both overt and sometimes hidden, that operate in ways that disadvantage minority communities. And that's a carryover. There's a long legacy in this country that has gotten enormously better, but is still there. And when you look at what's happened in law enforcement across the country over the last several years, that's not news to African Americans. What's different is simply that some of it's now videotaped, and people see it. And the question then becomes, you know, what practical steps can we take to solve this problem? And I believe that the overwhelming majority of white Americans, as well as African Americans, want to see this problem solved. So I have confidence that by surfacing these issues, we're going to be able to make progress on them.
I asked because I listened